The sound of a voice chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo fills the room. It could be anyone's voice. A busy mother before her children wake, a student facing exams, a worker dealing with stress, or an elderly person finding peace in their final years. This simple phrase, meaning, "I devote myself to the mystic law of the Lotus Sutra," carries within it a profound promise that every person, exactly as they are right now, possesses the same enlightened nature as the Buddha himself. Throughout history, spiritual practices often seemed reserved for special people. Monks spent decades in mountain temples. Scholars studied ancient texts in languages most people couldn't read. The wealthy made expensive offerings at elaborate ceremonies. But Nam-myoho Renge-kyo stands apart from all of this. It asks for no special talent, no years of training, no money, and no particular place. The Lotus Sutra itself declares, the Buddha nature exists in all living beings. This wasn't meant as poetry or philosophy. It was a direct statement about reality itself. Think about what this means. Right now, in this moment, you already have everything you need. The Buddha nature isn't something you must earn through years of good behavior or study. It isn't waiting for you at the end of a long spiritual journey. It's already there, like a precious jewel wrapped in dirty cloth, as one of the Lotus Sutra's famous parables describes. The chanting doesn't create this Buddha nature. It reveals it, awakens it, and allows it to shine through your life. Nichiren Daishonin wrote in one of his letters, "If you think the law is outside yourself, you are embracing not the mystic law, but an inferior teaching." This statement cuts through centuries of confusion about spiritual practice. The power isn't in some distant heaven or in the hands of priests and authorities. The power lives within you. Every time you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, you're not calling out to something far away. You're calling forth what's already inside, like striking a bell that's been silent too long. Consider how different this is from many other practices. Some meditation techniques require you to sit perfectly still for hours, your mind empty and calm. But who has that kind of time? Who has that kind of mind, especially when life gets difficult? Some prayers ask you to beg higher powers for help, positioning you as small and powerless. Some rituals need special objects, specific days, or ordained priests. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo needs none of this. You can chant while sitting, standing, or even walking. You can chant for 5 minutes or an hour. You can chant in your bedroom, on a bus, or in your heart when speaking out loud isn't possible. The accessibility of this practice wasn't an accident or a simplification. It came from a deep understanding of what the Lotus Sutra really taught. In one of the sutra's most powerful passages, the Buddha says, "The Buddhas, the world-honored ones, appear in the world for one great reason alone. They wish to open the door of Buddha wisdom to all living beings." Notice the words all living beings, not just monks, not just the educated or wealthy, not just men or women, old or young. Everyone. When you chant, you're engaging with the mystic law, the fundamental rhythm and energy that flows through everything in the universe. The word myoho itself means mystic or wondrous law. It's mystic because it works in ways beyond our everyday understanding, yet it's completely natural and real. Think of how a tiny seed contains all the information needed to become a great tree. Think of how the earth spins and seasons change with perfect precision. These aren't miracles in the sense of breaking natural law. They're the mystic law revealing itself. Nichiren Daishonin explained, "Myo means to revive, that is, to return to life. Each time you chant, you're reviving your true self, your Buddha nature. You're coming back to life from whatever has been deadening you. Fear, anger, confusion, despair. You're remembering who you really are beneath all the layers of hurt and habit. And this revival happens not through complicated philosophy or mystical visions, but through the simple act of opening your mouth and letting the sound emerge." The word renge means lotus flower, and the lotus carries special meaning in Buddhism. Unlike most flowers that bloom high above the mud, the lotus grows directly from muddy water. Its roots sink deep into the muck, while its flower rises pure and beautiful above the surface. You don't need to escape your life's mud, your problems, your mistakes, your difficult circumstances. The lotus doesn't bloom despite the mud. It blooms because of the mud. Your Buddha nature doesn't require perfect conditions. It can emerge right where you are, in the middle of your actual life. Kyo means sutra, the teaching itself, but it also means sound or vibration. When you chant, you're creating vibrations that ripple out through your body, your environment, and your life. Modern science tells us that everything vibrates at different frequencies. Ancient Buddhism understood this in its own way. The Lotus Sutra states, "No worldly affairs of life or work are ever contrary to the true reality." Your chanting connects with the fundamental vibration of life itself, harmonizing your individual rhythm with the cosmic rhythm. People sometimes wonder if they're doing it right. They worry about pronunciation or whether they're focusing their mind correctly. But remember, this practice was designed to be accessible. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to understand everything about Buddhism before you start. You don't need to feel particularly spiritual or enlightened. The Lotus Sutra teaches, even if people with a distracted mind entered a stupa compound and chanted but once, hailed to the Buddha, they have all attained the Buddha way. If even a distracted, casual acknowledgement has such power, imagine what sincere, regular practice can accomplish. This accessibility extends to all of life's situations. Facing a job interview? Chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Dealing with a sick child? Chant. Confused about a decision? Chant. Celebrating good news? Chant. The practice doesn't distinguish between worthy and unworthy concerns. Everything in your life matters because you matter. Your Buddha nature cares about your whole life, not just the spiritual parts. Nichiren Daishonin wrote, "Suffer what there is to suffer, enjoy what there is to enjoy, regard both suffering and joy as facts of life, and continue chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo." This isn't about escaping from life or rising above human concerns. It's about meeting life exactly as it is, while connected to your deepest source of wisdom and strength. You don't have to be holy or detached. You can be fully human, fully engaged, fully alive. The practice also doesn't require you to abandon your current beliefs or join a specific group, though communities of practitioners can offer valuable support. The mystic law works for anyone who engages with it, just as gravity works whether you believe in it or not. The Lotus Sutra declares itself the secret storehouse of the Buddhas, but then immediately makes this secret available to everyone. A secret that everyone can access isn't really a secret at all. It's a truth hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. What happens when you chant regularly? People report different experiences, but common themes emerge. Many describe a growing sense of inner strength, as if they're tapping into a reservoir they didn't know existed. Problems don't necessarily disappear, but the ability to face them transforms. Nichiren Daishonin promised, "You will grow younger, and your good fortune will accumulate." This doesn't mean magical youth, but rather a renewal of spirit, a fresh engagement with life that makes you feel more alive, regardless of your age. Some people experience what feels like a dialogue with their deeper self. Questions that seemed impossible to answer become clearer. The right words come at the right time. Opportunities appear that were invisible before. The Lotus Sutra calls this expedient means, the way the Buddha nature finds exactly the right method to help each person according to their specific situation. Your chanting activates this innate wisdom that knows what you need better than your conscious mind does. Others notice changes in their relationships. Chanting isn't selfish, even though you might start by chanting for your own concerns. As you connect with your Buddha nature, you naturally connect more deeply with others. The same Buddha nature exists in everyone, so recognizing it in yourself helps you recognize it in others, even when they're being difficult. Compassion grows naturally, not as a moral duty, but as a genuine recognition of shared humanity. The beauty of this practice lies partly in how it works with modern life, rather than against it. You don't need to give up your career, your family, your pleasures, or your personality. Nichiren Daishonin taught, A sword will be useless in the hands of a coward. This means your Buddha nature needs to work through your actual life, your real personality, your unique circumstances. A doctor uses Buddha wisdom differently than an artist, a parent differently than a teacher. The practice strengthens who you already are, rather than trying to turn you into someone else. Even the time commitment is flexible. Traditional meditation often requires silence and stillness for extended periods. But Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can be chanted for just a few minutes in the morning and evening, though many people choose to chant longer when facing specific challenges or when they simply enjoy the practice. There's no minimum requirement that determines whether you're a real practitioner. The Lotus Sutra emphasizes that even one phrase or one verse has immeasurable value. The practice also addresses a basic human need, the need to act, to do something, especially when life feels overwhelming. Sometimes meditation stillness can feel passive when you're burning with anxiety or frustration. Chanting gives you something active to do. Your voice, your breath, your whole being engages with the practice. You're not just sitting with your problems. You're actively calling forth your Buddha nature to help address them. Critics sometimes call this too simple. How can just chanting a phrase transform your life? But simplicity isn't the same as superficiality. Consider the complexity hidden in something as simple as breathing. Every breath involves an intricate dance of muscles, oxygen exchange, blood chemistry, and neurological signals. You don't need to understand any of this for breathing to work. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo operates on a similar principle. The practice is simple. What it accesses is profound. The Lotus Sutra uses the metaphor of a great physician who saves his children by giving them medicine. The medicine isn't complex or expensive. It just works. The children don't need to understand pharmacology. They simply need to take the medicine. Similarly, you don't need to grasp all the philosophy behind Nam-myoho Renge-kyo before you experience its benefits. Understanding can deepen over time through practice, but practice comes first. Nichiren Daishonin emphasized this point repeatedly in his letters to ordinary people, farmers, merchants, women struggling with difficult lives. He didn't write primarily for scholars or monks. His message was always, you can do this. You have what it takes. Your life has infinite potential. He wrote, the heart of the Buddha's lifetime of teachings is the Lotus Sutra, and the heart of the practice of the Lotus Sutra is found in the never disparaging chapter. What does Bodhisattva never disparaging's profound respect for people signify? The purpose of the appearance in this world of Shakyamuni Buddha, the Lord of Teachings, lies in his behavior as a human being. This reference to Bodhisattva never disparaging is significant. This figure from the Lotus Sutra bowed to everyone he met, even those who mocked and attacked him, saying they would all become Buddhas. He saw the Buddha nature in absolutely everyone, treating each person with profound respect, regardless of their current behavior or status. When you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, you're acknowledging this same truth, that you and everyone else possess infinite worth and potential. The practice's accessibility also means it can adapt to different life stages. A young person chanting for success in school can practice the same way as an elder chanting for peace in their final days. New parents chanting through sleepless nights use the same words as retired people chanting in quiet mornings. Life changes, challenges change, but the fundamental practice remains constant, like a reliable friend who's always there. This reliability matters enormously. Many spiritual practices promise transformation, but require you to fundamentally change who you are first. You must become more disciplined, more pure, more detached. But how do you bootstrap yourself into transformation? If you could already be that disciplined person, you probably wouldn't need the practice. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo meets you where you are. Start lazy? Chant anyway. Start confused? Chant anyway. Start angry or sad or distracted? Chant anyway. The Buddha nature doesn't wait for you to become worthy. It's already there, ready to emerge the moment you call it forth. Of course, the practice isn't magic in the sense of making life perfect or removing all challenges. The Lotus Sutra itself was taught to people facing real difficulties. Many of the Buddha's followers dealt with illness, poverty, political oppression, and personal loss. The teaching didn't promise to eliminate these challenges, but rather to reveal the inner resources needed to transform them into opportunities for growth. Nichiren Daishonin himself faced exile, assassination attempts, and tremendous hardship. Yet he wrote, "Iron, when heated in the flames and pounded, becomes a fine sword. Difficulties can forge strength when you face them with your Buddha nature activated." The phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo itself acts as both a declaration and an invocation. Nam means to devote oneself, but it's not the devotion of submission or servitude. It's more like devoting yourself to breathing or to living in alignment with something fundamental. You're saying yes to the mystic law that already flows through you and everything else. You're choosing to harmonize with it consciously rather than stumbling through life disconnected from your deepest source of wisdom and energy. This connection between the individual and the universal represents one of the practice's most profound aspects. You're not separate from the mystic law. You are an expression of it. When you chant, you're not calling to something outside yourself, but awakening to what you truly are. The lotus flower doesn't strive to be a lotus. It simply allows its lotus nature to unfold. Similarly, you don't have to manufacture your Buddha nature. You simply have to stop blocking it, stop doubting it, and let it emerge through the practice of chanting. The complete accessibility of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo represents a radical democratization of enlightenment. In many traditions throughout history, spiritual achievement was presented as a rare accomplishment, reserved for exceptional individuals after years or lifetimes of effort. The Lotus Sutra challenged this view directly, teaching that all people equally have the Buddha nature. Nichiren Daishonin took this teaching and made it practical through a practice that anyone could do. No special intelligence needed. No special purity needed. No special circumstances needed. Just you, right now, opening your mouth and letting the words come forth. This is why the practice can spread so naturally from person to person. When someone experiences positive changes through chanting, they naturally want to share it with others. There's no complex instruction manual to hand over, no lengthy training required. You simply teach someone the words and encourage them to try. The practice teaches itself through experience. The mystic law reveals itself through engagement with it. Your Buddha nature proves its own existence by emerging in your life. As you continue chanting day after day, something subtle but powerful happens. The practice becomes less about achieving specific goals and more about maintaining connection with your Buddha nature. You begin to trust that inner wisdom more than your anxious thoughts. You start to see challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. You recognize that you have resources within yourself that you previously overlooked. This isn't positive thinking or denial. It's a fundamental shift in how you experience and engage with life, all because you've been regularly connecting with your deepest, truest self through the simple act of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.